Everyone, thanks for joining today's class, and we are seeing chapter 15 Bhagavad Gita Purushottama Yoga to celebrate Purushottama month, which is happening right now, and it will continue until I believe 18th of October or 17th of October. So what we'll do is just quickly recap on chapter 15 up to verse number 12. So the first 5 verses, Krishna is talking about the banyan tree, how it is a pivotal reflection of the spiritual world, and whatever we have in the spiritual world is merely the opposite in our material world. For example, love in the spiritual world is lust in this material world. And the first 5 verses is talking about how we can detach from this material world. The banyan tree is a material existence, and its different branches represent the different levels, the planetary systems where we can travel from one place to another. It also represents the species that we can take out of 8.4 million. Okay, out of 8.4 millions of species, we will take birth in one or the other forms based on our karma and the desire we accumulate over the period of lifetimes, many lifetimes. And verses 6 to 11, it talks about transmigration. So how we have, because of this material bondage, we have this connection. We go from one body to another. So we continue to take birth from one body to another. So that is transmigration. So our goal should be to get out of this material world and then go to spiritual world, because what happens, we continue to come back again and again. So we have to face these permanent problems: birth, death, old age and disease, and also Adi Atmika, Adi Baudiga and Adi Deviga, which means the problem caused by our own body and mind, problems caused by our other living entities like neighbors or mosquitoes. We have seen that examples before. And then problems caused by the nature, law of nature, like natural calamity or tsunami or seasonal changes like virus things happening right now. These are few of the examples that we have been seeing, and we can't get out of it. We don't have control over it. We have very minute control only. And all living entities are mamaivansa jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha. So all living entities are part and parcel, fragmented part and parcel of Krishna only. Okay, but we are not Krishna, but we are part and parcel of Krishna. And what transcendentalists who get this jnana, right, they see things through jnana sakshu, and therefore they know the difference between the material world and spiritual world. But people who are not into any kind of transcendental or spiritual activities, they do not see. They actually they are blind, spiritually blind. It's due to their avidya or ignorance. Okay. Next we are going to see verse number 12 to 15. It is under the section of Krishna's position as our maintainer. Okay, so the practical application of this section 1 is, as I mentioned, we need to get out of this material world to get into the spiritual world. And we'll see the section 2 practical application would be, unless we attain the spiritual world, we have to continue to take birth in this material world, one species or another, through the process of transmigration. Okay, so then 6 to 11 we completed, and now 12, verse number 12. Okay, can anyone please read verse number 12? Thanks. If you can read the Sanskrit, please go ahead. Otherwise, just translation.
Yes, Mataji. Yada dityagadam tejo jagatbhate vekilam yachandramasi yachagnav tejo vidhi namakam. The splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of this whole world comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me.
Okay, so the common theme in this verse number 12 to 15 is the verses help us to know how things are taking place in this material world and thus be established in knowledge. One who is entangled within the banyan tree can develop his Krishna consciousness by appreciating Krishna as the maintainer of the phenomenal world. See, when we go to an office and we don't know who is the boss, we just try, we just work casually and we don't know who is the boss behind this big office or who gave us the position. We are just, taking it easy. And when we come to know the greatness of the boss, so for example, he is doing a lot of charitable work, he is creating a lot of protocols or some strategical good planning to benefit the employees. So he's doing a lot of good activities, and when the employee comes to know, he will really appreciate it. Wow, I didn't know he was the boss, plus I didn't know he is doing all these activities for our benefit. So this is great. This is understanding that we should get when we read or hear about Krishna's greatness. Then we will appreciate him. Okay, unless and until we receive such knowledge from a bona fide authority or a bona fide representative of Krishna, we can't understand. So I believe we discussed it already, how our entire universe is illuminated by the sun, the power of the sunlight. And where the sun is receiving the light from, one may question, it is coming from Krishna. The Brahma Jyoti is nothing but effulgence of Krishna. And where the moon is getting the light from is sun. Okay, so the moon is getting the light from the sun is getting the light from Krishna. So we understand whatever we have in our life, that is given by Krishna. So the light, the air, the food. So we will, in the future verses, we will see the benefit of having moon in our planet, in our universe. Now the sun, Krishna is saying that I am the one who is giving the light to the sun. See, if we don't have sun, we can't see anything, correct? We have eyes, but the power of the eye is only applicable when there is a sunlight. Otherwise, what happens? We need light or fire to be able to see. We need those additional factors. But because we have this sun, we have we get a lot of things. We get not just vitamin D or the light, but we have this whole, the mood, the activities, everything happening because of the sunlight. If we think about it, if no sun, and I know there are countries that have very little sunlight or no sunlight, and the level of stress in those areas, in those countries or geographical places are very high, because our stress level is directly proportional to the weather. Okay, and especially the sun, when we don't see sun, we kind of don't feel good. Especially myself personally, I love sun so much. Whenever I see sun, I feel happy. And I try to do Surya Namaskar in the morning, Vallabha, and I try to do that every morning, like in a yoga poses. And just to pay gratitude to the sun. And of course, Surya Namaskar yoga is very good for our body, especially in the morning or before the sunset or after the sunrise. When we do, we get the sunlight and we get to pay gratitude. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 that we need to pay respect or perform sacrifice to the demigods. Okay, but for people who follow bhakti, we don't have to. So we simply, of course, we need to respect. So this is one form of respecting. So the only two demigods that we can see, 33 crores of Devi Devadas. Out of 33 crores, how many we can see with our naked material eyes? Only two. That is sun god and moon god. No one else we can see with our material eyes. Agree? And therefore we should appreciate. And the moon, because of the moonshine, all the vegetable get the juice, the taste, the nourishment. Okay? The sun making the plant to grow, and the moon is giving the juice to the plant, the fruits, the vegetables and everything. So imagine there is a vegetable and it doesn't produce any juice whatsoever, it's so dry. will you like it, or will it give you any nourishment whatsoever? No. So therefore we need sun and moon. They are getting the power from Krishna. Without Krishna's mercy, no sun, no moon. It won't help. We can't live, pretty much, just to put it in that way. So these are the things when we see, we can appreciate how Krishna is maintaining. He just created material world and left it like that. No, he is actually maintaining it. He is the boss and he is maintaining like a servant. So that is his position. Then we need to appreciate that. And next verse, 13th verse. Gam avishish.
Mataji, we can't see the screen, Mataji.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I shared it. I'm really sorry. That's good. Someone let me know. I was showing screens without knowing that you guys are not able to see. Okay. Alright, we'll see verse number 13. Anyone can read, please?
Gamdeshva cha
Bhutani
dharayami aham ojasa pusnami kausadhi sarva soma bhutva rasatmakaha. I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables.
So Krishna is saying that how the planets are in orbit, they stay in orbit and floating in order. So we know, when we forecast, forecast analysts check the weather and tell this is when it's going to be raining or windy and things like that. It's amazing. And of course, unfortunately, at the moment, because of climate change, the spring looks like still winter, still windy. It's like autumn. It's still autumn. So, but if there was no climate change as such, then we can understand whatever the season was meant to be, it just continues. It still continues perfectly, but it's just the fact that we are exploiting the nature. There are changes. We are suffering from it, and we deserve that suffering as well. So here Prabhupada's telling in the purport, living entity floats on water till he is alive, and because of the presence of the spirit soul. Similarly, planets float because of presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like planets, analogy, he's giving analogy. Planets are like planets are held like handful of dust in a fist. He keeps all moving and non-moving things in place. So Krishna is pretty much, in a nutshell, Krishna is the controller of everything. We may wonder how it is all staying in the orbit. It's just because of Krishna's energy. Krishna's external energy makes everything in place, in order, and revolving, the planet, Earth revolving around the sun, other planets as well. So we understand that it's just how he designed it. It's working perfectly only because of men power and their unnecessary intrusion in the nature is disturbing the position of the nature. But otherwise everything is working perfectly. But one who doesn't know that, it's like thinking a little child thinks that the robot is performing the play by itself, but in fact there is someone who designed it, and then who puts a battery in it, and then who sets it up, and then there you go, it works. It's not that everything's being done automatically. How the atheists say everything is happening by chance and everything is happening automatically. Yes, it is happening automatically, but there is someone behind it, the designer, the controller, the organizer. Until or unless there is someone designed it, you can't see. And here in this verse, there is a word here, Soma Bhutva Rasa Atmakaha. We already discussed that. For the moon, the rasa means taste, or the juice. In this context, it is juice. So who is supplying the juice? Krishna is saying, I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. And he becomes the sun, he becomes the moon. In another sense, he gives the light to the sun, and he gives the light to the moon also through sun. Okay. So next verse 14. Can anyone read, please?
अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहम् आश्रिता प्राणापानसमायुक्त प्राणामि अन्नं चरुं विदम्.
So,
And the fire,
yeah, please.
and the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life outgoing and incoming to digest the 4 kinds of foodstuff.
See, there are 4 kinds of foodstuff: chewing, licking, eating. What else? Chewing, licking, sucking, and swallowing. Not eating, swallowing. So, what Krishna is saying, that he is the one in the stomach as a digestive fire in every living entity, and he combines himself with the life air, the prana, both outgoing and ingoing, and digesting the 4 kinds of food stuff. Chaturvidam annam. Annam means food, chatur means 4, vidam means kinds. So chaturvidam annam. So pachami. Pachami means he helps us to digest the food. Here it says I digest. So see, he is the digestive fire. In Ayurveda, it is very important. Not in Ayurveda, generally it is important, but in Ayurveda it stresses the important. What importance? The digestive fire, the importance of the stomach fire, the hydrochloric acid, I believe. And it is extremely important in your body. If you have control over your digestive fire, that means if you eat the ahara, that is food which are in mode of goodness, the digestive fire will work perfectly. But if we eat lot of things that is not favorable for our digestive fire, for example, cheesy food, dead food, processed food, or oily food, when we eat these kind of food, what happens? We see several kinds of disease. We think the stomach disease is the only disease is caused by the digestive fire. No. Every single disease is caused by the poor digestive fire in our stomach. You can experiment yourself for following 14 days religious food principle, eating only the food in mode of goodness, juicy vegetables and fruits. And there are timing also. See, I really love this topic and I'm glad that we are talking about this, because we see people, even if it is prasadam, we think prasadam is okay if I eat any food. No, prasadam is prasadam, that is okay, that is mercy of Krishna. But if you eat too much of food that is not going to help your digestive fire, what happens? We will get disease. So someone may have born as a devotee and lived all his life as a devotee by eating prasadam, but he got so many diseases. Why? Because of the fire, the digestive fire in the stomach is not helping him to digest the food, because the eating pattern, the lifestyle, food lifestyle, what he is following is so poor. So we need to eat water-rich food so that the body can digest. And the other thing is, people say, oh, what to if we say only you're supposed to eat vegetables and fruits and not too much of nuts or seeds either. You can eat only when after you healed your diseases. If you are already healthy, then you can of course include seeds and nuts and fruits. Seeds and nuts, but definitely no oil, because it's still processed. Anything in its original state we can consume, but if it is moderated, adulterated, processed, then it is not good. It is dead food. Okay, so we are supposed to consume only once a day the grains, not too many times. Sometimes we start with poha or some moong dal dosa or something, and then afternoon again rice sabji or the chapati or something, and again night. The stomach needs rest. The digestive fire works well when we eat the right food at the right time. And our body doesn't need food all the time. But what we do, we eat all the time. So then if we know this Bhagavad Gita verse, then we will blame Krishna. Oh Krishna, you are the digestive fire. Now I got all the diseases because you are not working properly. It's not him not working properly. It's us. We are eating even though we are not truly hungry. Okay. So I took extra time for explaining this because it's important. We eat lot of food in these modern days. We think for pizza, we put a few vegetables and think it's vegetable pizza, it's good. It's not good. We try to consume raw, but if we have already digestive problem, then we can at least steam the food and eat, steam the vegetables and eat. And fruits we can't eat all day. We have to eat in the morning only for so that it has better digestive power to digest. And again, 1 o'clock lunch is supposed to be like that, one time grain. So when we follow this, what happens? We don't need any English medicine or anything like that. So it is nothing but living in a sattvic lifestyle. Okay. So this next verse is very important, and we often quote this verse many times. So somebody can read this verse 15.
Yes, Mataji. Can I read translation, please?
Yes, please.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
So Krishna has already give us the connection between verses 12 to 14, that how externally also he is the maintainer, internally also he is maintainer. How? He is the one, I am seated in everyone's heart. Like he is Paramatma, Sarvashya. Sarvashya means all. Chaham, aham means I. Hridi means heart. Sannivistaha, situated. So Krishna is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. 3 types of Vishnu, 3 forms of Vishnu. Again, it's all coming from Krishna originally. Krishna is to Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original source of all incarnations. Okay. And everything. Aham Sarvashya Prabhavo. Everything emanates from Krishna. He says that in Bhagavad Gita. So he is saying here, I am situated in everyone's heart. What is he doing? He is the one giving us remembrance, smriti, jnanam, the knowledge, apohanam, the forgetfulness. Okay, that is one subject. And the next, he is saying, you read so many Vedas. Okay, there are 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, what is that? Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda and Sama Veda. 4 kinds of Vedas. Originally there was only 1 Veda. Originally there was only 4 slokas, Chatur Sloka Bhagavatam, and 4 slokas spoken by Krishna to Brahma through heart. And Brahma, some say mind, heart, it's same. For Brahma, it's all same in one sense. Okay, and he has transferred the knowledge from him, from Bhagavan Krishna to Brahma, and then Brahma spoke those 4 verses to Narada. Okay, and then that Narada Muni gave that knowledge to Srila Vyasadev. Then he wrote that 4 verses into 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam. Okay, so he divided that Vedas into 4 categories because Kali Yuga people are so dull-minded and their memory is so bad that they cannot understand the entire Veda. And that on top of that, their lifetime is so small. In Satya Yuga, we have seen this, right? Satya Yuga people used to live for 100,000 years. And then in Treta Yuga, they used to live for 10,000 years. Dwapara Yuga, 1,000 years. And Kali Yuga, how many years maximum? Can anyone say?
100.
Correct. So 100 years. And these days people die even at the age of 60 or 70 or 50, because the way of living, Vedic culture means simple living, high thinking. And Prabhupada says people are simply living and highly thinking. So simple living and high thinking means you keep yourself content with what you have, not over endeavoring for something you don't need. Okay, you can manage your life within that sphere what you have, without working hard, or spending too much time at workplace but unable to spend time in reading shastras or hearing shastra or practicing bhakti. Then we need to think about it, how we can reorganize our schedule and what we can do about it. But what happens is we do bhakti in our spare time. We are supposed to do work in our spare time. But we can't do that. Unfortunately, our material exists. We are struggling. Karsati. Karshati means, remember in the one of the verses, previous verses, we read that word, significant word. Karshati means we're struggling for material existence. We're working hard. We want to keep our body and soul. But for that, you don't need so much stuff in your life. Okay. So we need to keep our life simple. So if we have too many furnitures, what happens? You are not even sitting on one furniture. You are only sitting on the floor, for example. Then why do we need so many furniture? Because they think, society, people will come, what do they think? So because of people, the society, we keep accumulating the possessions, the wealth, and the power. We're trying to, we need to correct ourselves. We need to think what is actually our ultimate goal. So Krishna has given this Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita is given in Mahabharata, written by Srila Vyasadeva. It's only one section. And Mahabharata is written especially for Kali Yuga people because it's in a story form, so they can easily understand. But you can imagine then how the complexity of other Vedas will be. It is considered, Mahabharata is like Itihasa only, or Purana. It's like very, very simple Veda. Okay. But in the simple Veda itself, the Bhagavad Gita is considered to be very complicated subject matter. Not everyone can understand. Even the great scholars read so many parts of Veda, still they can understand Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. What does that mean? That means they don't understand Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead and everything emanates from Him, and my job is to please Krishna through my whatever activities. My material activity will become spiritualized when we engage our service in the for the pleasure of Krishna. But we are not doing that. What we are doing is we are trying to please our consciousness, please ourself, please our own body. Because of that, we are never satisfied. We are always looking for something more, something better. We are thinking, maybe this person is not able to give me the love that I am expecting or I am giving. He is not able to reciprocate to me enough. So I need to look the love from somewhere else. Okay. This is happening in this material world. That's why there are so many diverse cases or suicides or murders. It's not happening everywhere, but it is happening. Correct? It is happening. Yes. If you check the news, that's why I stopped seeing the news. If you check out on the news, there is always these many number of murders, these many number of suicides, all because of stress, because of dissatisfaction in their life. So they think living is more painful than dying. So this is, unfortunately, because of this we are suffering. And then the second two lines, Krishna is saying that Vedaisha sarva ahameva vedya vedanta krit vedavid evachaham. So that means by all the Vedas, so you have so many Vedas, you go and read, but first of all we don't have time, we don't have lifetime itself, then what to speak of time. In 100 years, how many Vedas you can read? The Bhagavatam itself, 18,000 verses. Even if you read one verse a day, 18,000 days you need. But all we have is 100 times 365 days, that's all. 3650 days if we have lived up to 100 years. If we have started reading verse 1 from day 1 when we were born. But that's not the case. So what is he saying? You don't have to read Vedas. Just know I am the compiler of the Vedanta. Vedanta means summary, summum bonum of Vedas. I am the knower of the Vedas. So even if you read all the Vedas, what you need to come to know is me. If you don't know that, even after studying Vedas, it's useless. Your study is simply useless. So Krishna is the original source of happiness. So let me read that points. So he provides the awareness of current experiences, remembrance of previous pleasant experience, and forgetting and unpleasant experiences. So the first two lines is given. The second line, mainly second line, this is talking about the remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. He is the one giving us. So we shouldn't think, oh, I forgot that because it's Krishna who made me forget. One sense, yes, it is true, but it is also that we deserve some things that had to happen. And if you put it this way, if you remember everything that in your life that happened and you never forgot anything, then you will go crazy. Okay, sometimes our mind, sometimes my brain freezes for a bit. It means people ask questions that I can't answer because my brain is frozen. So I don't know if anyone experienced this. This is so unfortunate that I know they are talking, they are asking, but I have no idea what they are speaking. It's like totally like deaf. So everything blocks. It's because of constant usage of our mind in unnecessary things. Okay, then when it comes to necessary things, it's not working. But even sometimes I use my mind for necessary things also, but it's not necessary to think that things constantly. That's another thing. I hope I'm not confusing too much. So Krishna makes us forget on certain things for our own good, and he makes us to remember some things for our own good, and again gives us knowledge for our own good. But when we surrender to Krishna, what happens is whatever the remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness we experience in our life, it is absolutely for our good. So I lost my eldest sister when she was 19 or 20 years old, and I was only 17 years old or 16 years old. I think I was 15 or 16 years old when I lost my eldest sister. And if I remember that every day, I do remember now and then, but not every day constantly. If I do that, then I can't function my other things. So I will be so depressed and stressed out and see the life as empty, see the emptiness in the life. It's not going to help me, correct? So I have to forget some things, and I have to remember some things. If I don't remember where my house is after gone for shopping, and then I'll be like, hang on a minute, where I'm supposed to go, then I'm lost, correct? So actually we have to have our remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness, everything for Krishna. So we should remember Krishna, we should gain knowledge about Krishna, and we forget about anything that is not related to Krishna. Okay, so it doesn't mean you forget about our family. Just try to engage them in Krishna's service, then they all will also be part of Krishna family. But what I mean by forgetting non-Krishna means don't bring too much in your life, wasting time in thinking about that unnecessarily, but rather spend time, energy, everything, and activity, like they say, thinking, willing, feeling, everything in Krishna's service. We just try to do that. And Paramatma is the one, he is also Shirodakshaya Vishnu. So I was saying 3 forms of Vishnu coming from Krishna, right? So Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, before that Mahavishnu, from Mahavishnu, he is also known as Karanadakshaya Vishnu. From him the universe comes, all the universes comes, and each universe he enters as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And each universe, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, from his navel Brahma comes, and from the lotus stem. And in the lotus stem there are 14 planetary systems, and the middle planetary system is Bhuloka, which we discussed last week. And from each universe, from Garbhodaksha Vishnu, he goes as Krishna, Shirodaksha Vishnu or Paramatma to every living entity. You see how Krishna is so merciful. It's not that he, like for example, your mother built a house for you and told, okay, go, just live. You have no idea how to cook. You don't have no idea how to eat, how to maintain the house, how to put the light on, how to cook, cook in the stove, things like that. You don't know anything. How will you feel? But if mother gives you recipe and teach you how to eat, how to cook, how to take care of the house, everything set up nicely, you don't have to work too hard, just follow the instruction. How does it feel? Much better, correct? Similarly, Krishna has not just created the world and just left it and say, okay, go, do your job. But he actually is maintaining everything. The sun, the moon, for the vegetation, what we eat, for that he provides. Even for the little ant, he provides food. For the big elephant also, he provides food. But it is us who are greedy and stealing the food of the animals, or stealing the place where animals live and build our own houses, and stealing the place of the river and building, cover the river and build an apartment and sell the apartment. And then when the river water comes, the flood comes, the water will automatically come to the place where it used to live. Correct? Now it has become an apartment. Then we say or complain, oh, why the river is coming into my house? The water coming into my house. You built a house in the river. Okay. And the animals, the sea animals or river animals, they are suffering because of our greediness. Correct? So, we have to live our life, whatever Krishna has provided, in his service, because nothing belongs to us, everything belongs to him only. We are only caretakers. So when we have that consciousness and take care of our family members who have been given by Krishna, and take care of our work again given by Krishna, take care of the body which is given by Krishna, especially Krishna Paramatma in our heart is guiding us, taking us to the right path. But we need to listen to him. We need to pray to him. Hello. Yeah, thank you. So it is so Paramatma is explained in this verse. Okay. So Supreme Lord Paramatma sitting in our heart is witnessing. I believe it is mentioned in Svetasvatara Upanishad. Two birds sitting in the tree. One bird is the living entity, the Jiva. The other bird is Paramatma. Witnessing every single activities of the Jiva. Okay. And living entity, he acts according to his past deeds. Okay. Sometimes he used to be an alcoholic in his previous life. Now he is he is not alcoholic, but he has the tendency in his past life. Now if he gets the opportunity to drink, what he will do? He'll drink. Okay, so whatever activities, because we have somehow or other we have performed at least little bit of bhakti in our previous lives, that's why in this life we are spending time to hear Krishna Katha, hear Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise it won't happen. And living entity forgets and has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord. Arjuna, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right, in one of the chapters, he says that, I remember everything, Arjuna, you forgot. I know your past, present and future. So we don't know who we were in the past lives. We don't know who we become in our future lives. And even in the present life, we don't remember what exactly happened 2 days ago the same time. Okay, we try to consolidate, but still we don't get it right 100%. Okay, therefore, it's all under the will of the Supreme Lord. There are things that has to happen certain way by the will of his, will of Supreme Lord, then it will happen. And when we pray to Krishna, of course, he will guide us again in the right path. So, Lord's direction, we already discussed that he gives remembrance, forgetfulness and knowledge. He also rewards us with fruitive results. Okay, different fruitive results. So we perform some activity and we suffer or enjoy according to our activity. That is law of nature. It is under the instruction of or under the approval of Krishna only. Whatever happens in our life, it is under the sanction of Krishna. We may think, oh, this bad thing happened, it might not be because of Krishna, maybe it's due to the law of karma or law of nature. No, everything is approved by Krishna only. Okay, if we see things as bad or good, doesn't matter, under the sanction of Krishna only happening. But we should understand that if whatever that is happening under the sanction of Krishna, but it is because of my own past deeds or misdeeds. We can't 100% complain that, oh, Krishna sanctioned it, that's why I'm suffering. Because we deserve it, so Krishna sanctions it. Okay, like you go and apply for a loan in your bank, and if they have checked your creditability, credit check, and you pass the credit check, then they give you. You think, oh, I didn't get the loan because the manager did not sanction it. No, because you don't have credit history, good credit history, so he can't sanction it. And because you have credit history, he sanctioned it. It's just like that. And again, going back to the previous verses, how the Krishna is the digestive fire in the stomach. Please appreciate everything you have. If you have stomach problem, then you can understand it is due to our digestive fire which is not working well. We have to work with that. See, Krishna not only residing in the heart as Paramatma, but also in our stomach. We think we know everything. We say, I googled everything, I know everything. But we don't know when our body doesn't do a proper job. For example, we get some sickness and you have no idea. It is your body. You said you know so many things and now you're telling, you don't know why you got this particular disease. How come? Because even within our own body, we don't know so many things. We don't even know part of certain body, our body parts, certain name of the certain body parts. Correct? If you go to biological, medical, doctors might know, but we can't know. We don't know everything. And then Krishna in this verse, Prabhupada gives that how we see Krishna. We attain Krishna through 3 ways, 3 forms or 3 stages: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Jnanis see only the Brahman's realization. So they know that I am the spirit soul, I am not this body. Aham Brahmasmi. I am spirit soul. So they know that. Jnanis go up to only Brahma Jyoti. So Brahman realization will take you only up to the effulgence, the light of Krishna. It won't take you to, say for example, if you want to go to a particular destination to see someone and you want to catch the train and you see the light and you think that the light is everything. Will the light take you to the destination where you want to go? Say you are in Melbourne, you want to go to Sydney to see your best mate. And you see the light coming from the train. You don't know there is train. From train only the light is coming. You think, oh, it's just the light. And okay, that's all. Now this is my destination. But your best mate is waiting in Sydney. So that is only partial realization. Next level of realization is Paramatma realization. Paramatma realization is when you go to the next level. You understand, oh, there is a train. Okay. But will that understanding enough? That is, the train means you understand, oh, Krishna is residing as Paramatma in every living entity. Let me meditate on that. Jnanis will meditate on the light, Brahman realization, that is. Paramatma means they meditate on the super soul. Is it enough? No, you need to have personal relationship. So you even if you achieve, even if you go and see the best mate in Sydney, you don't have personal relationship, it's waste. So the Bhagavan realization is the complete realization and ultimate realization, because you automatically come to know the Brahman and Paramatma when you when you attain Bhagavan realization, which is knowing Krishna is the supreme and I am permanently, eternally related to Krishna. When we have that understanding, then automatically you will know you are not this body, and Krishna is living in your heart. Sarvashya aham cha aham hriti sanni vistah. So Krishna says in this verse, right? So he is residing in everyone's heart. So you are not jnani, you are not yogi who has Paramatma realization, but you are bhakta. Now you got the knowledge. So you understand? So automatically we get the knowledge of who is Krishna, who am I, what is my relationship. We will see that in future verses. So Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojana. What is Sambandha? Sambandha means relationship between you and Krishna. Sambandha Jnana. And Abhidaya is you have the process to connect with Krishna. That is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then connecting with Krishna and then achieving Prayojana, the goal, the ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is also bhakti. See, the process is also performing bhakti. Ultimate goal is also performing bhakti. So there is no difference between the means and goal in bhakti, okay, which is very easy. So I was doing I'm doing Bhakti Vaibhav. In that I had an assignment. In that there was one of the questions that how in Srimad Bhagavatam, Hastinapur ladies, in Hastinapur, after the war is completed, after the war is finished and the King Yudhishthira Maharaj takes up the throne, and Krishna stayed with them for a few months to console Subhadra because she lost her son, only son Abhimanyu in the war. So to console her and also to give some solace to Pandavas, Krishna stayed at the request of Yudhishthira Maharaj, and after a few months he had to leave to Dwaraka. That time the Hastinapur ladies, they only heard about Krishna from others. They haven't had any personal association so far. Even with us, do we have personal association with Krishna? Yes, through chanting, reading, yes, that is true. But the personal relationship means, have we seen him in person? That's what I'm saying. We all have personal relationship, but do we have personal association? Yes, through chanting, as I said, but have we seen Krishna? Have we sat down with Krishna? In our mind, yes, we can do all those meditation, which is great. But reality, no, we have not have that experience. Similarly, the Hastinapur ladies also, they didn't have experience of associating with Krishna like how Pandavas had. No, they were not had that much fortune. But they appreciated Krishna only through hearing. Even Rukmini Devi, only through hearing about Krishna from Narada Muni, she fell in love with Krishna and she wanted to marry only Krishna. So she was so determined. Like that, Hastinapur ladies were praising. They were just simply, they have not studied Vedas. They are not scholars. They are not Brahmanas or as such. But they simply praising Krishna with simple languages. Okay. And that sounded like more attractive than the Vedic hymns. Okay, that's what Sukadeva Goswami was saying. So that sounded like more attractive than the Vedic hymns. So what is the use of reading all the Vedas but you don't come to the conclusion that Krishna is the knower of Vedas and he is the one to be known by studying Vedas? If you don't know that, even if you are a great scholar, Brahmana, even if you are reciting Bhagavatam, it's waste because your understanding is not there, therefore it's just waste of time. Okay. So the goal of Vedas, everything is to know about Krishna. Okay, I stop here and next week we will discuss from verse number 16 to 20 and that's about it. So we will be finishing this 15th chapter next week. And next week we will see what is the concept is. Yeah, so which verse we are on? 16th verse. Oh, 15th verse, right? Yeah. From verse number 16 to 18, it is called Chatur Sloki. We could say, but it's not Chatur Sloki. Why we say that Chatur Sloki or Tri Sloki means it's very special. Okay. But actually Chatur Sloki is only present in Srimad Bhagavatam because that was spoken by Krishna directly. Okay. And these also spoken, the entire Bhagavad Gita also spoken by Krishna, but it is not mentioned as such. Okay, but in purport Acharyas call it as 3 sloki, which are 16 verses, number 16, 17 and 18. We will see that. It will give us the knowledge, summary of Vedas and Vedanta. And the last 2 verses, very important. Knowing Krishna means knowing everything. If you know Krishna, you know everything. Okay, so that is what we are going to study in the next few verses. So what we studied so far is how Krishna is the maintainer. Okay, we have only seen 3 verses, but very deeply we have seen, which is great. And we have also seen how Krishna as the controller, the maintainer of external material universe and also internal as Paramatma, and gives knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness, and how we get the food through sun and moon, and how that food gets digested in our stomach through digestive fire, which is Krishna. Alright, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Okay, if no questions, what I'll do, if everyone go and check your chat box, I have sent a link. It is the prayers for offering food to Krishna. Okay, that link will take you to this page here where we are looking at right now. So anyone who you think is ready to offer prayers to Krishna, offer food to Krishna, before having that food, please follow this process. Okay, so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 that one who doesn't offer the food to me and eat that food is verily eating the sins only. What does that mean? That means if we haven't offered the food to Krishna and eating the food, that means we are not pleasing Krishna's senses by offering that food, but we are trying to please only our senses, material senses. That means we are eating only sins. Krishna says, I am not saying. Okay, so Krishna also says in chapter 9, 26th verse, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. So he says, what you can offer, he already said in chapter 3 that if you don't offer to me, then you are eating sins. Why? Because every food has karmic reaction, because it doesn't come from the farm straight away without having hurt any living entities in the transit. Okay, so the pesticides might have been used, the chemical might have killed the little living entities that was living in the plants and foods and vegetables, and during the transit so many other offenses might have occurred. Okay, so we are also part of that karmic activity, even though we have not directly involved in this karmic activity, but we are still indirectly involved. Therefore, we also have to suffer from those reactions. So there's our karmic reactions, because anything we are not involving in Krishna consciousness activity, like for example, you are eating the food that becomes karmic food. Okay, when we eat, before we eat the food, when we offer, it becomes akarma or prasadam, because we have invoked the mercy of Krishna through the prayers, and Krishna has mercifully accepted the prasadam, the food we offered. It's called bhoga, and then it becomes prasadam because Krishna's mercy is present now. And then when we eat, you will yourself feel first food tastes better. Okay, when I used to cook without onion and garlic, I was like, how can I cook without onion and garlic? What recipes are there? It's so hard, I can't do it. But I got ideas, like I can use cabbage instead of onions. In fact, onions and garlic are not good for our spiritual path, and also it is in the mode of ignorance. There are food in the mode of goodness and fashion and ignorance, and these two foods are in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, when you eat, as we mentioned, as we discussed in the chapter 15 and verse 15, how Krishna is digestive fire, and we also discussed the food, what food we are supposed to eat, which should be water rich, that means juicy. not water poor. You can eat water poor, which is grains, pulses like that, a little bit, not too much, okay, and once a day only, not 3 times a day. So when we offer such nice water rich food to Krishna and he accepts it and you eat, not only you get the taste but also you get nourished, okay, and you heal your diseases and everything, and your heart gets cleansed, okay. So again I'm telling you, you are offering biscuits to Krishna, pizza to Krishna, and it becomes prasadam, so I eat it, but don't complain that don't complain that, oh, I'm still sick or I'm still suffering from this, because even though you're offering food, it's not right food. So please make sure what you eat is the right food in the mode of goodness, and you offer that to Krishna through these prayers that we'll go through in a minute. And then after giving him to eat for few minutes, after that you take that food that you offered, whatever patram, pushpam, phalam, thoyam, you can offer water or leaf or fruit or what is it, patram, pushpam, phalam, thoyam, flower, sorry. So you can offer any of this. But remember, we are eating nice bhoga, like rice, sabji and dal and papadam and everything. But what we are offering to Krishna is a little flour or little bit of water. It's not fair. But still Krishna accepts that. But go one step above and think, okay, can I offer food to Krishna? What I'm eating, before I'm eating, whatever I cook without onion, garlic or mushroom, can I offer it to Krishna? Yes, do it. And that way you will cleanse your heart and you get the tasty of food, you get the mercy of Krishna, and you can progress in your bhakti much faster, because there are few things that is stopping us from progressing is our consciousness. So because our consciousness is coming from food we eat, so you are what you eat. There is a saying like that. And also there is another saying, food is a medicine. So if we eat the right food, and before eating the right food offer to Krishna, then accept that food as prasadam, then everything becomes auspicious. Okay. But if you're not ready to offer food to Krishna, then start with offering flowers or fruit or water or leaf, tulsi leaf. Okay. So there are few prayers that we chant. You can just read it out. What you do, take a new plate, new cups. If you don't have silver plate, say stainless steel silver plate, buy if you can, or any plate, disposable or anything, buy and keep it for Krishna. Don't contaminate it with our own vessels and plates. Keep it separate. And every day whenever you cook, make sure you do not use onion, garlic, and then take that food, put it in a cup and give a glass of water, give a spoon, put it in front of Krishna, and put tulsi leaf in each food cup and water, and then say this prayer: Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashtaya Desa Tarine. 3 times. Say 3 times. And then Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauradvise Namaha. If you can't pronounce Sanskrit words, it's okay, just try. That one 3 times. And then next. Namo Brahmana Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jahat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So then you chant this Panchatattva Matra. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. And then 3 times after that. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. 3 times. So you're done offering prayers, okay? You leave it for few minutes and do 1 round of chanting, for example, and then 1 or 2 rounds, or set up your table for dinner or whatever it is. Come back, say thanks. First, when you offered, finished praying, say please accept the offering, Krishna. And then what we are doing is we are actually offering the food to Krishna, not directly, but through acharyas. And then Panchatattva, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we go through the Guru Parampara. We can't directly approach Krishna, so we are going through Guru Parampara. Once we offered, leave it. After 4 minutes, come back and say thanks Krishna for accepting the offering. Take the food, bring it and mix with your own food. If you have a cup of poha that you offered, say it is halwa, put that halwa in your big container wherever you have stored halwa and mix it. Now everything becomes prasadam. Now you serve this to your family and everyone eats sumptuously. And of course halwa, just an example, it's like occasional, it's not healthy. Remember that. And what happens before eating is we have to say prayer. Okay. And this is, we can discuss it next week. What I would like you to do this week as a homework, everyone, whoever is not doing or practicing, you try to read this verse translation in the verses. Where is it? So you try to read the translation and the verse and then try and see if you can practice. But if you keep saying, then it will come in practice, okay? And if you want any help from me in regarding to that, by, for example, recording and sending the prayers, please ask me and I'll do that, okay? I can record my voice and send it to you. I don't know if this is available in YouTube, but you can try. If not, you can ask me also. And unless you try, we can't practice, okay? We need to try and practice consistently, then we will be able to follow this every day, okay? So it is individual choice, but about offering food to Krishna. But Krishna is, we just studied about how much Krishna is, helping us, maintaining us as a gratitude, because he only gives us food. So what is wrong with offering him the food that he has given us and then taking that as prasadam? So it's nothing wrong. In fact, we are gaining so much by doing that activity, okay? So think about it. Any questions, please message me or send me your voice message. I'll try to answer that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.